Mr. Collins for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I come here today, as I have on many other occasions, to discuss an issue that is close to my heart, but it's also close to every small community and every large community across the country, and that's the plight of our community pharmacists. The community pharmacists are going to survive each and every day in light of the anti-competitive behavior of pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs. Now, let me state up front, I have no problem with a company doing business. I have no problem with them playing in the bounds of what is fair and what is legal, and PBMs have a role in the marketplace. However, what we found out just in the last few weeks in the Judiciary Committee in a hearing is there is still a lack of regulation, enforcement, and transparency is threatening the very existence of our community pharmacists, in which the PBMs are acting not as competitors, but many times as bullies. To make matters even worse, and this is what was amazing to me, community pharmacists cannot even speak out about the appalling practices of PBMs that they're forced to do business with, because when they do, the repercussions are swift and severe. It has been amazing to me to talk all across the country to community pharmacists who simply want to talk about what is going on in their business model, in which they are put at a distinct disadvantage, and yet there are many of them saying, I can't say anything publicly because I know I will be reprimanded, or my contract will be changed, or my contract will be withdrawn, and I'll be out of business. Mr. Speaker, that's just wrong. And no matter what is said, we have seen firsthand that in relation to state laws that have been in response to this issue, the states have enacted transparency reform with generic drug prices and reimbursement system called the MAC transparency laws. In fact, to date, 24 states have enacted such laws. The goals of these laws is to increase transparency and provide structure around the generic drug pricing and reimbursement systems. But when community pharmacists speak out in support of these reasonable reforms, the PBM community has retaliated through business lawsuits against the states, and even discussing it in the contracts with community pharmacists, saying, well, it would be better if we get these laws repealed. There's just a problem here. When you have the ability to force your competitors to be audited by, to be controlled by you, to where there's no transparency, where there's issues of community pharmacists simply barely making us able to survive, the PBMs are not representing the best interest of consumers. The PBMs are representing themselves. If they were truly acting in the best interest of consumers, they would claim they would not oppose virtually every single transparency reform effort on the state and federal level. In fact, it's really interesting. They come to Congress and say one thing to members, and then they turn around and behave however they wish in the pharmacy marketplace without fear of enforcement or oversight. As I said from this floor a few weeks ago, I will continue this fight because they can't audit me. They can, my community pharmacists, and my community pharmacists are scared because they know their very livelihood is being put out by those who would come with shiny objects and savings that many times never materialize, but at the same time, funneling money to their own businesses. It's time to change, and it's time to change it now. We must preserve pharmacy access for patients, especially those in rural areas like North Georgia. And we must put an end to the bullying that seems to be going on. What is amazing is they can make a mistake. A PBM can make a mistake and say a pharmacy was not part of the new network. And when called on that, saying we are part of that new network, say, well, we'll send out a retraction when we get around to it. Pharmacists lose business based on these kind of letters, and yet the PBM say, oh, well, we'll get around to it when we can. That's why I'm proposing H.R. 244, because community pharmacists routinely incur losses of approximately $100 or more on prescriptions because PBMs reimburse pharmacies well below their cost to acquire and dispense generic prescription drugs, and that have skyrocketed in prices. The PBMs may wait weeks or months to update reimbursement benchmarks, and they use to compensate pharmacies while drug prices increase virtually overnight. This situation jeopardizes pharmacists' ability to continue to serve patients because it leaves community pharmacists with unsustainable losses. Mr. Speaker, I would urge you and other colleagues to co-sponsor H.R. 244. This reasonable legislation will require PBMs to maximum allowable cost benchmarks every 7 days to better reflect market costs and allow pharmacists to know the source by which PBMs set reimbursement for his or her community pharmacists. Many times we come to the floor fighting for businesses both large and small. But this is a time in which we are coming, and I'm coming to the floor, fighting for community pharmacists who many times are the main source of health care in a community. They're the ones that are trusted. They're the ones that are needed. And it's time for this body to stand up for them against the anti-competitive tactics of PBM and the bullying behavior that's got